called me at 5:30 this morning. She even called,
even call me.
she even called Debbie to let us know. And, so Susan, Terry, where would you like to put it, Susan? Right in front of you, right there in the black?
Sure.
Or the yellow? That way.
Yellow.
Yeah. You know what, let's do then, since she's your guest, let's put Shannon over here. Because that way Shannon's looking at her instead of having to turn her head. Shannon, Susan.
Come on. You got a minute.
I haven't seen Susie yet.
I'll believe
Is
it.
she out there?
Yeah, they're out there, bring them in. But tell them where I said to sit, because I might have to be on the air. Shannon, I'm gonna put you here today so that you and both Terry are interviewing our very special guest, Susan. Susan, I'm Eddie. How are you?
Suzanne.
And Suzanne, I'm Eddie.
Nice.
No, you're right there, right there, the yellow. And then Joanne, when you finish, Joanne, you grab the black when you're done.
Okay, all right, got you.
Got it.
All right.
No, Joanne doesn't get a microphone today. Not, I mean, we're gonna be lucky.
You know,
that
how about them seagulls?
those chicken hawks,
Like the seagull.
30 seconds.
Oh, Seahawks.
All
Seagulls.
right, we're starting with you, girl.
All right.
Joanne, we're starting with you.
Oh, I go first?
No, Eddie goes first, then you
Yeah, I
go.
talk and then we go.
Okay, got it.
Stand by, 20 seconds. There we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, listeners, you certainly know what that theme song means. That's right, it is another episode of Mustang Matters, heard right here in the Reno Town Hall. If you'd like to come join us in person, if you're in northern Nevada, please come join us and actually get behind a microphone. If you'd like to text in with information today or questions today on Mustang Matters, this show was created by none other than Lacey J. Dalton, who's normally the host here, but she's up in the Virginia Highlands right now, sitting back and listening to the show. Might have a call in from Lacey J. Dalton earlier and a little bit later on in the show. But right now, if you'd like to text us, that text number is 775-384-4444. If you would like to call us throughout the show and give us a question or a comment, that call-in number, toll-free from anywhere in the world, is 855-790-TALK. Now write it down, it's 855-790-8255. On set with us today, as usual, we have the host of the Mustang Matters Show, president of Hidden Valley Wild Horse Protection Fund, that is Shannon Wendell. We also have Terry Farley, world-renowned author. She's on set with a very special guest, as well as the co-host of the Mustang Matters Show from the Pine Ridge Reservation, a Lakota resident and a Native American herself, Joanne Spotted Bear, who always leads us in with a little American Indian flute and then a prayer in her native tongue.
Thank you very much, Eddie. I'm gonna start with the flute and then we'll take off with the prayer. Atero katanga tabashla ushmaila omakiyo. Dagmish nimias washni chin doctor hecho stevnie hapel. Shikawakana tatampana shikaki no yatiki hote oteki. As chin doctor hecho stevnie hapel. Omakiyo chin dagmish nimias washni chin doctor hecho stevnie hapel. Hope dakiasa.
All right, amen. That was Joanne Spotted Bear, Lakota from Pine Ridge Reservation. This is Mustang Matters. Remember, again, I'm going to repeat, join us if you're in the northern Nevada area, aka Reno Sparks. Come get behind the microphone. If you'd like to text us throughout the show, and we already have some coming in, that text number is 775-384-4444. And if you'd like to call us, remember you can do so at 855-790-8255, and also post on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Mustang Matters. That's right. And now, without further ado, let's get to today's host of Mustang Matters, none other than president of Hidden Valley, that is Shannon Wendell.
Well, thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you. We really appreciate, once again, you giving us the microphone. And and offering us this hour-long show to bring some interesting topics, people, to our wild horses, domestic horses, issues that are surrounding what's going on in our area and across the country. And as usual, we really want to reach out and say thank you so very, very much to American Matters Media for allowing us to be here. Debbie, Craig, Eddie, thank you. Thank you so much.
Quite welcome, as a matter of fact. And we got a standing ovation from none other than Terry Farley. I like that, Terry. And by the way, compliments to you. You know, I can't believe this. You will not believe, Terry, the number of people who text me during the week prior to even Mustang Matters being on there, and I've already got a couple for today's show. People who grew up with your books, and they're all patiently waiting for round 2.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm working on the next one, so it's called Wild at Heart, and it's about Mustangs and kids that are trying to save them.
Oh,
Beautiful.
how exciting. Oh, I can't wait for that. When can we expect it?
Spring
Just
of,
approximately.
spring of 2015.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh,
No, you're gonna have to write that.
Yeah, send me an email earlier, okay? I love that. By the way, Terry, thank you very much. And I think without further ado, Shannon and I both would like you to do the honors, since not only a famous author herself, but also a friend of yours. So how about you announcing to our listeners around the world our very special guest today here on Mustang Matters.
All right. Well, if there are any of my readers tuned in today, they will have already heard this name. Suzanne Morgan Williams is the author of the book Bull Rider, and her website, in case you'd like to look at it while we're talking, is SuzanneMorganWilliams.com. That's SuzanneMorganWilliams.com. And her book, Bull Rider, is a winner of the Western Heritage Award, which is a huge deal. She has
Wow.
this bronze statue of a horse and
Oh,
cowboy that I kind of
goodness.
covet, but I haven't taken it yet. And,
Is it bolted down?
no, I think she hit it since the last time I babysat the goats. But Suzanne has cared about the West and about all kinds of issues that have to do with Western families, from military families to families who are involved in rodeo. And she lives in a valley that was once full of wild horses, and a lot of them have been arrested by the Nevada Department of Agriculture, and she's really stepped up for them. So,
You-
Shannon, yes.
You know, Terry, I got to jump in right now because listeners, again, that text number is 775-384-4444. And you got to love this, Terry. This comes from Father Mike in Denver and says, just to let Terry Farley know, I read her books growing up as well and before becoming a priest, but please remember, thou shalt not covet. Father Mike in Denver, thank you for that comment. Absolutely love it. Shannon?
I love it. That's great. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for coming today and being on our show, Mustang Matters, here in Reno. We're at the Reno Town Mall. Thank you for coming. And I know that in your heart, you have really been affected by the wild horses. And that's why we wanted you to come here today. Is we know that you have written lots of wonderful things about different topics and horses. But that's how I met you, through the wild horses, the ones that, as Terry suggested, got arrested out of your beautiful valley. And I was just wanting you to tell everybody how that has affected you.
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me. This is a real pleasure and an honor. I've lived in the valley where I reside for 15 years, which isn't long in Nevada terms, but it's longer than any place I've ever lived in my entire life. It's semi-rural, it's being built up more and more each year. And the first winter that I was there was a herd of wild horses in an open field. And I was so thrilled. I grabbed my camera, I took my little red Jeep, and I sat and watched them for probably 2 hours. And you can go on my website and see some of the pictures that I took that day.
Oh my goodness.
That band of horses returned year after year with their babies. They split, they made new bands, bachelors were driven out. And for several years, they sort of came and went in that open field we now call the resort. It was fenced, but they broke the fence down. And they were just kind of part of our lives. And recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, the herds got larger, more people had moved into the valley, and it started to be a concern to some of the neighbors, because horses do not mix well with irrigation lines under your lawn and small dogs
And traffic.
Yeah, traffic. I have a funny story to tell about that. But in the end result of this, without going on for so long, is that a couple of years ago, we got word through Terry, really, who was babysitting my goats while I was traveling, that the Department of Agriculture had their eye on our horses.
Mhm.
And we were able to avoid them being collected. And in doing that, we got a group together of about 30 neighbors who were really interested in local horses.
I love this story.
And we did lots of things to help those horses. And we talked to all our neighbors, and we began to stop and tell people if folks would come into our valley to give the horses a carrot or something. We got very proactive, and we would stop our cars and get out and say, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to do that. Which is a little scary when you don't know the person. But we really got a group of people being very active to say these horses are wild, please don't approach them, please don't encourage them to be tame. But this January, one of our neighbors was, I guess, very upset about the horses and allowed the Department of Ag to trap, we believe it's 15, it might be 13 of them.
I did get word that it is 13.
And they were taken to the prison in Carson City, and that's when we called you, Shannon, and you've been working with one of my neighbors who really is doing, 2 of my neighbors who are really doing more than I am, to help with what we can to get those horses adopted. And I am very proud that this group in my valley has stepped up and donated more than $5,000 toward their adoption. But it's not enough, and I'll let you talk about that, Shannon.
Well, thank you. And I think I'm so impressed by the reaction of just about everyone in your little valley, and how you have pulled together as a community, and the horses have kind of bonded you together as neighbors, and created this event in your area to help save these horses, and going forward to help save them. Right now, the 13 horses that are down at the prison, I'll kind of go over what happens and why they're at the prison and why we say they got arrested. There was a complaint, just one complaint in your valley, that initiated the Department of Agriculture in Nevada, who is responsible for the wild horses in the Virginia range. They're not BLM horses. These are owned by the state of Nevada. They belong to every resident in the state of Nevada. Those are my horses, those are your horses. They got one complaint, arrived, picked up the horses, 13 of them. I guess there must be 6 mares and 6 babies, and a stallion. Drive them down to the prison in Carson City, where they have a holding facility down there for way too many BLM horses. The state also has a facility down there. The horses are unloaded. They're immediately branded with an N on their butt, which identifies them as Nevada horses for the rest of their lives, even the babies. The stallions are gelded. As soon as their little parts show, no matter how old they are, they could be 8 months old, they're gelded right away. They're microchipped and set to hold. until the Department of Agriculture advertises them in the local newspaper as being feral, a stray. And the reasoning for that is that they don't believe that any horses are actually wild. They believe, according to law, Nevada law, that these horses have possibly been turned out, that they could have been owned by someone. Therefore, they have to, by law, advertise that they picked up these horses. And I tried saying, yeah, they're my horses, so give them back to me, but that didn't fly. They didn't fall for that. So currently, these horses are down in the prison in Carson City. They are, I believe, being advertised now. We have estimated the cost to rescue these horses at $25,000. And I know that sounds like a whole heck of a lot of money for horses that are wild, that we can't do anything with. But the fact is, they are horses. And anyone who has ever purchased a horse will say the cheapest thing about a horse is the price you pay for it. It's the care afterwards that is costly. And since our organization does not own any property, wherever we hold our horses, we have to pay a monthly fee for pasturing or fostering horses. And we have to pay for their hay unless they're out on a pasture somewhere. And with all the drought that we've been having here in this region, I think pasturing is going to be a dubious endeavor going forward. Eddie can certainly attest to that. He has the proud owner of Wainema Ranch.
You know, Shannon, I'm so glad you brought that up because listeners need to know just how important it is they get a hold of you and help out with this, because I just heard from some ranchers yesterday who are in the hay and alfalfa business, if you will, and they're estimating that right now, and it's all because of the drought in California and northern Nevada area, and by the way, throughout the entire state of Nevada, we're probably looking at $30 a bale next year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, ouch. $30 a bale is what they're estimating right now. And I also talked, and we have, this is another cute little text that came in, and it's a gentleman named Mitch who lives in Yerington, Terry, once again addressed towards you, and says how much I love this, okay? Mitch apparently works for the Cook Sheep Company and wants to know how much you'll babysit sheep for. But you know what, listeners, I'll tell you what's nice. What's nice is we have people involved with Mustang Matters all over the world right now. And Shannon, I'm coming back to you for one reason. It is important that the people are educated. They know how important it is to help out with your wallet. You know, and if you can't help out with your wallet, find an advocacy group near you and come help me shovel on a weekend. All
There
right?
you go. Absolutely, yeah. Well, to be perfectly honest, we need help. We need funds to come in to help rescue these horses. We have found out that there are not only these horses, but others that have been trapped and arrested and taken to the prison. So we need donations coming in so that we can rescue these horses. If we are unable to take these horses, their fate lies in the hands of the state, which we need to change. But they will be taken out to the Found Livestock Auction and sold out there to whoever buys them. And many people buying horses right now are kill buyers. So please, if you can, it doesn't matter how much. Any donation is huge. If you can donate, please go to hiddenvalleyhorses.com and get on our the donate button on the right side of the page. You can also set up a monthly sponsorship for a specific horse or just in general. And you'll find that on our sponsorship page and also on our wildhorseadoption.org website. So please help us out. hiddenvalleyhorses.com to donate.
And if you haven't, this is Terry, if you haven't been out to Fallon to the livestock auction, I can't say that I recommend it as entertainment. I finally made myself go. I went with Shannon, who knew what she was doing, and we walked around the pens. We saw some amazing horses. we saw two beautiful racehorses who'd been dropped off by their owner, and as he left, they neighed after him. Then we went into the ring where they bring these horses in. They split the mares up from their foals, and they walk out onto what appears to be sort of a stage in an amphitheater. Do you know what that stage is? It's a scale.
It's a scale. It
So
weighs
you
them.
can, so people can, who are kill buyers can tell how heavy the horse is, so that when they sell its meat, how much money will they get?
They're selling by the pound.
Shannon, I had a question for you sitting here listening, and I know that last week, Sue Wallace.
Sue
Wallace.
Yeah, I heard she passed away.
She
Who is in charge of, who's taking her place in regards to these kill buyers and the horses and all of
That's a
that?
really good question. Would you like to take her place? We could certainly use an advocate. She has no real place. She made a place for herself. And it's time for us as heartfelt, logical, intelligent individuals, good American citizens, to step up on behalf of all horses, not just wild horses and burros, but all horses. The tragedy, as Terry alluded at the livestock auctions, wild horses are not currently taken to the livestock auctions. Currently, I have to say currently, that is a dubious situation for them as well. There are the estimated numbers of domestic horses that are being dumped at livestock auctions is between 140 and 160,000 horses a year are sold at livestock auctions. They are transported in horrible conditions, like sardines in livestock trucks. No matter what their condition is, whether they're sick or healthy, terrified. North, across our borders into Canada, or south, across our southern borders into Mexico, where they are subjected to horrendous conditions and go through just a disgusting ordeal, slaughter ordeal, where horses do not die immediately from the captive bolt, which is supposed to kill them, and it doesn't.
It's designed for cattle, and they have different heads, if you've ever looked at them.
Exactly. So when they shoot this captive bolt into a horse's head, it doesn't have the same reaction as it does for cattle or other livestock. And the horse is stunned, but they're completely aware of what is happening to them. And it's disgusting. And we want that to stop. Joanne?
Yes, we do. Question, where does the horse meat, what is it used for?
That is a really good question. Currently, the majority, from what I understand, the majority of horse meat is packaged up nicely and sent to international markets where people pay high prices for horse meat in countries like France, and there are several countries around the world where they consume horse meat, and that's a matter of choice. It's not mine, certainly. But the concern that all Americans should have with regard to that is that the domestic horses that are being slaughtered and sliced up into nice packages for consumption by humans, that meat is not fit for human consumption. Horses are given, generally speaking, on a regular basis, deworming medication, bute for ailments that they, there is a list, I believe, of 38 drugs that horses are given, and any one of those renders that meat not fit for human consumption. But we Americans are allowing that meat to be shipped to international markets. We need to have the SAFE Act passed, which will stop the flow of any horse across an international border from the United States for the purpose of slaughter. We should not, as Americans, be sending contaminated meat to to anybody.
Amen, there it is there. Well
There it
said.
is. But, yeah.
Eddie, how about Washington? What's Washington saying about contaminated horse meat and the sales of horse and
Well, right
stuff?
now, thank you for that update. And I can update people nationwide right now. There's what's known as the SAFE Act, which is one of the reasons I'm actually going back to Washington DC. Lacey and I were talking about it earlier today, and also we talked about it earlier in the week, because it's so important that this comes to a vote. The SAFE Act is where it will actually put an end to this horse meat going overseas or anywhere because of just what Shannon said. There's chemicals in it. It's not safe. It's not safe for human consumption no matter where they live. It doesn't make it clean and safe just because we ship it overseas.
Absolutely, and I think the issue right now in Washington is there is tremendous support for the SAFE Act, which stands for Safeguard America's Food Exports Act. There's tremendous support in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. The problem is that these bills are stuck in committee. And if anybody has ever taken a government class, you'll know that you first submit a bill to a committee, and they go back and forth and rewrite it and decide what it's going to actually look like and vote on whether or not it should go to the floor to be voted on. And it's both, there's a Senate committee and a House of Representatives committee that each have their own version of this act. And they're just letting it sit there. And we don't want it to sit there anymore. We want action. And I know for a fact that our wonderful guest, Suzanne, is quite a really cool actor. And I bet she can shed some light on what are we going to do? What can we do? We need to take action.
Well, my first question to you, Shannon, and
Eddie.
you, Eddie, thank you, is do we know the members of those committees? We know
Yes.
their names. Would
Yeah.
that be on your website, or could it be there?
Yes, we have a link on our links tab. People can go there. They can. I've got a link there to govtracks.us, I believe it's called. You can go there and get all sorts of information about what's going on in Washington. There is a link to the committee, the House of Representatives committee, and I need to put the Senate committee on there as well. And we need to contact those people directly, send them emails.
I would say the first thing to do is go on there, send an email. If there's anyone from your state on those committees, start with that. If there's not someone from your state, find someone who you recognize, that you have some feeling for what they've done in the past, and say, I've always admired your work on, say, food or agricultural understanding or whatever it is, and this is what I need you to do. Now, be short and sweet. Tell them what you want them to do. And if you have another sentence in your heart, tell them why you want them to do it. Then please tell them you'll be watching.
Absolutely.
Great advice,
Yeah.
Suzanne.
Well
Thank
said,
you.
Suzanne. Basically, she said, butter them up, then hit them square between the eyes. I love that.
Why you wrote, what you want them to do, and that you are keeping track and you will remember. You might also add that you have a lot of friends.
That's wonderful.
Excellent.
advice, I think. And I think that's what we need to do, is spread the word. We need to get as many people contacting the people in Washington as possible. And it's the squeaky wheel. And I need to add at this time that we have a fundraising event coming up. It's Hearts for Horses. It's a benefit, fundraising benefit for our wild horses, both the rescue and the wild and free. We're holding it this Tuesday, February 11th, at the Swill Coffee and Wine, which is at 3366 Lakeside Court, from 5 to 7 in the evening. We're going to have some beautiful harvests playing, the Valley Harbors. There's going to be a cash bar. We're going to have appetizers. It's going to be a fun evening. We're going to have raffle, silent auction, door prizes, appetizers.
No calorie Valentine's.
That's it. We're gonna have some really nice stuff, and above all, we're gonna have Terry Farmer there. She is going to be our special guest. She's gonna have some of her awesome books there, and I have twisted her arm, and she's gonna sign some of them.
I
Give us
love
our
it.
address.
All
Listeners,
profits go to the horses.
Amen. Way to go, Terry Farley. All right, listeners, and again, that's hiddenvalleyhorses.com.
Absolutely, Eddie, thank you so much. Hidden Valley Horses.
For those of you listening on 99.1 FM Talk, Fox News Radio, that wraps up today's Mustang Matters, and we'll see you back here again next week. For those of you listening on other stations in this great nation of ours, we'll be back right after these messages from our sponsor.
We got your website in, and we took over so we could do the break for Fox News. See, we actually do, Suzanne, so that you don't think we're crazy, although I am.
That's been proven over and over and
We do
over.
two shows.
Okay.
We do two shows. We do a full hour, and the full hour is live, but I take the 30 minutes, the first 30, and package it for Fox News. And it plays, it re-airs again on weekends, and then both shows re-air during the week. So it's not like this is the only time we're heard. We're heard again on Renegade Radio, and then on weekends, we're heard on Fox. And by the way, good Lord willing, a little bit of donation come in. We're also, there's a new signal in town, 1060 AM, in Reno starts, and they want to pick up this show and 9 others too. Okay, so which is good. That's the bonus.
And then it's
By
being
the way,
recorded
Craig,
so it goes viral.
Chip wanted you to call, what's the guy's name, Craig?
Chad Owens.
Chad, yeah.
Go another half an hour.
Here we go, stand by.
So we can do.
15 seconds, stand by, here we go.
Eddie, should we repeat what we just did?
Here we
The
go.
same stuff?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Quiet, please.
All right, listeners, you certainly know what that theme song means. That's right, it's another episode of Mustang Matters. And we're heard nationwide now, coast to coast, border to border, and like Joanne Spotted Bear likes to say,
Res to res.
that's right, reservation to reservation. Now, listeners, Mustang Matters not only is heard locally, but it's also heard nationwide. 3 ways to get involved. Come join us. We're at the Reno Town Mall. You can actually get behind a microphone if you care about our American heritage, the wild horses and burros. You also have the opportunity to text us. That text number is 775-384-4444. The text just came in, Shannon. Big shout out to Shannon Wendell from John Casino in New Jersey, who just tuned in to Mustang Matters.
Hey, John, how's it going, big guy?
There
We're
you-
waiting for you. Get your butt back here.
That's right, and I'm sure he doesn't like being in New Jersey right now with the weather they're going through. We have some very special guests. Terry Farley's on set along with Shannon Wendell. Remember, Mustang Matters was created by none other than country western star Lacey J. Dalton, who could not be with us today. Lacey, she's still up on Virginia City Highlands there, and we look forward to her return next week. Mustang Matters always kicks off every show with American Indian flute music, as well as Joanne Spotted Bear giving you and everyone a Lakota prayer in her native tongue. Joanne?
Heavenly Father, Creator, ask you to bless over our horses, our buffaloes, and our wild animals. Ask you to bless over Lacey J. Dalton, as she's sick today, that next week she'll come back healthy and happy and things will be good. Not just for Lacey, but for all of our people. Bless our people who are eating contaminated horse meat, that something will change in a good way. Atewa kantan katkashla oshmalo omatiayo. Chindagnish nimia swashnia, chindako hecho ashtek inieyo. Aho, dakyase. Amen.
All right, thank you for that, Joanne Spotted Bear. Remember, listeners, join us, Reno Town Mall. You can also text us, again, 775-384-4444, or you can call us from anywhere. It's 855-790-8255. And now let's get to today's host of Mustang Matters, President of Hidden Valley Wild Horse Protection Fund, Shannon Wendell.
Well, thank you so much, Eddie. I really appreciate that you have invited us here again, given us the opportunity to speak out to the public and get people interested in what's going on regarding wild horses, domestic horses, burros, mules. giving us a chance to reconnect and inform people, bring interesting topics and people to the American public. And thank you so very, very, very much to American Matters Media for allowing us to be here. Debbie, thank you. Eddie, Craig, thanks so very much. We're delighted to be here. And I want to hand over the microphone right now to my co-host, Terry Farley. Thank you for being here this morning, Terry. I really appreciate it. I'd like for you to introduce our guest.
All right, this is Terry, and some of you may know that I write books, and I have a constant traveling companion, Suzanne Morgan Williams, and her website, in case you'd like to follow along, is Suzanne Morgan, like the horse Morgan, Williams.com. And Suzanne is the author of the book Bull Rider. Bull Rider is fiction, and it takes place in a fictional town in the middle of Nevada, although it feels very real to me. If you've ever been to a small town in Nevada, you will recognize it for sure. And that book has won many awards, including the Western Heritage Award.
Wow.
Yeah, it's,
Awesome.
Tom Selleck was there, you know, but she had her husband with her, so.
Tom was getting his own award.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I thought it was threesome, okay. And Suzanne has, I mentioned this earlier, off mic, that Suzanne has a wonderful big bronze statue of a cowboy with his horse. That is her Western Heritage Award, and I do not covet it, but I do envy her. Oh wait, that's another sin too. I drool. Drool is good.
Drool all over it.
I drool over it every time I go over to feed her goats. And so Suzanne is here because not only does she love all things Western, most things Western, she lives in a valley that was full of wild horses until very recently, when the Nevada Department of Agriculture started arresting them and taking them to the Carson City prison. So she met Shannon that way, and they're going to talk about how people can get involved and what's happening to those horses.
Absolutely. Suzanne, thank you so very much for being here. We really appreciate it. It's a real honor. And it was a real honor meeting you and getting to know you and some of your neighbors. The circumstance is very unfortunate and very sad. But so many horses have been removed from the beautiful valley. Can you convey to our listeners how you got involved, what the horses mean to you, and what all of the activity that's happened over the last couple of years, how that's affected you?
Yes, thank you for inviting me. Terry, I have things to say about you too.
Oh, here we go.
Okay,
Here we go.
If it involves the cold showers in Elko.
This is good. We better just move away from that. Okay, so I've lived in my valley for 15 years. It's short by many Nevada standards, but longer than any place I've ever lived in my life. And I want to say something may seem a little odd, but part of living where I live, my neighbor calls it Rainbow Valley. We call it magic. We talk about it as God's country, and it is a community. It always has been since I've been there, of coyotes and people and squirrels and fabulous hawks, and we all keep track of that entire community. And we all really, so many of us, feel connected to the critters that come in and out of our valley. And among those were several bands of wild horses. Enough that we labeled them the dark band, the big band, the light band. The dark band, as far as I know, was picked up last year while I was traveling. It was probably the most tame of the bands that we kept track of. And this year, we have one band of horses that one of my neighbors says she's watched 7 generations of their foals be born. They're led by a beautiful chestnut stallion who different people have different titles for. But he is a horse who is very much in control of his mares. If you come close, he gets them in a tight circle. He's careful with those animals, and he regularly drives out the older young men. Not an aggressive horse, but very authoritative with his group. And also very prolific. All the mares always have babies, and they're beautiful. Buckskins, chestnuts, very few dark ones. This is a red and brown herd. I'm telling you this because as we talk, I know each of these horses by face and size and temperament, and they're no longer with us. A couple of years ago, things started changing. We had more horses and more people in our valley. And there are reasonable concerns for having horses and people in that close proximity. And some people hate it, some people ignore it, many of us love it and try and deal with the horses. You can know my house by the one that is totally surrounded by yellow ropes to keep the horses off of my irrigation lines because I also love my garden. And one day they got in and I scooped an entire wheelbarrow and a half of food. And that's something I'm not happy to do. So anyway, with a long story short, a couple of years ago, these horses were threatened with removal, and many of us got together and worked around that, got to know each other, kept the horses in the valley, learned a lot about the Nevada law, and thought we were pretty much over that hump. But apparently not. In January, someone made a complaint, allowed traps to be set, and one of my neighbors watched the horses be removed. She actually called the sheriff to make sure it was legal. And they came very quickly and were very polite to her and assured her that this was a legal roundup. And then she called the chap.
Right. And that was a very sad day for all of us. Another removal of our beautiful Nevada horses. And I just want to enlighten everybody about these horses. The horses we're talking about are Virginia Range Nevada horses. They're not BLM horses. They belong to every resident who lives in the state of Nevada. They are supposedly managed by the Nevada Department of Agriculture. And that's one of the problems that we have seen over the last 10 years is that there is no management of the horses. Their reaction to one complaint, as an example from Uritable Valley, resulted in the removal of what has turned out to be 13 beautiful horses, the band that we were just talking about, 6 mares and their babies and a stallion, and so very, very sad. And when you say that they are no longer with us, we don't mean that they were sent to slaughter or anything yet. They were removed from the valley and taken to the prison down in Carson City. Terry alluded to the fact that they were arrested. I think that's appropriate language for what they do. As soon as the horses are unloaded from the trailer down at the prison, they are branded with a rigid N on their butts that identify them for the rest of their lives as captured Nevada state horses. They are all microchipped, which is a good thing. That's a really good thing. The stallions are gelded. It doesn't matter how old they are. If they're little parts up here, then they're removed, even if they may be 8 months, 9 months old. And then the horses are advertised. In the state of Nevada, these horses fall under NRS 569, which labels them as feral stray. And that is, I think, it's not a good label. They don't acknowledge that they are wild horses. That infers that they at one point belonged to somebody. They're advertised so that any potential owner can claim them. And I said before, I tried to pull that one. I said that, well, they're Nevada horses, they're mine, I want them. And they didn't fall for it. So our task now, with the generous help of so many people, primarily from Suzanne's Valley, people have donated so that we can rescue these horses. The fate of these horses will be, if we are unable to rescue them and come up with the money needed to support them for at least 1 year, that will give us an opportunity to gentle them and get them to a point where they're adoptable, then they will be trucked off to the found livestock auction and sold there to whoever may be buying horses. And the only people buying horses right now are carriers. So we desperately need people's help. We're looking for donations. Not only were these horses removed, we found out that there are more horses down there. Some horses were removed from the local area. And then there was another band of beautiful bachelors that right down the road that were removed just last week due to a debacle.
My bachelors.
Your bachelors,
I
the
know
boys
them.
that they're gone as well.
That's it,
And
exactly.
it's very, very frustrating. That was a heartbreaking event. We felt that we had control of the situation.
Oh, yeah, you
that
like
we were going to
to-
be able to work with the
Yeah.
Department of Agriculture without a highway
Oh,
patrol.
that's normally
They need
like.
to step in and help us stop traffic on the highway so that we can get them out of the field that they were
Yeah,
being
but
kept in for safety purposes. And move them safely back across the highway and back up into the hills. There's been people lined up ready to put up fencing and get moving on that activity when some moron decided that they were going to take the situation into their own hands. They went at some point in the middle of the night, I guess, cut the fence, cut the lock off the gate, and let the horses out, which resulted in the horses standing right on the side, creating a
Yeah,
very
we
bad
got it.
situation at
Well, you're
Rush Hour
psychic in
for the horses as well as anybody driving down the
Yeah,
highway.
you're-
And that highway is minimum 50 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour means 55, 60, 65 miles an hour. So the Department of Agriculture was called immediately, and they drove up, set them up in a corral, and within a couple of hours, those horses were gone as well. Again, taken down to the prison. So we have a huge task ahead of us. We need funds so that we can rescue these horses and have funds available to purchase hay for them, find placement for them. We don't own property, so wherever we put these horses, we either depend on the kindness of people's hearts to foster some horses, or we need to pay for pasturing. Please get on our website at hiddenvalleyhorses.com. hiddenvalleyhorses.com. You'll see our donate button there. We can also set up a monthly sponsorship, which would be fantastic. Set it up one time, you don't need to worry about it again. We do any of our help you would like. We would appreciate your help in saving these horses, and so that we can ensure that they will be taken to safe harbor and that we can feed them and house them. We need to transport them and we need to care for them with vet care. Please help. hiddenvalleyhorses.com. And I can see the disappointment and shock on your face, Suzanne. I know it's frustrating, aggravating, annoying, and heartbreaking.
Well, can I say that when the first 13 were picked up, from some very generous donations, we collected about $5,000 from our valley, from a lot of these horses that Shannon just described. I know 4 of them, they're not mine, just the other that way.
They are.
There's a little white one who's about pony sized. It's got short ears. There's a one that's toward Palomino that's bigger, and that is the first one to run if you go out to get them off your property. There's a dark chestnut or light bay. I know these horses, they run in a group of 4. The white one's going to beat up a lot. I just, and we thought they were taken care of. That's the last time that we talked. That is the last group of horses from my valley that I know by heart. And you need another $20,000, another $30,000. Folks, you've heard what these horses look like. You've no idea what they mean to our community. And help would be great.
And that's just it, that these are not, these are part of our families, they're part of our homes. When we live right on the edge of their grazing lands, we see them every day. We have names for them. Most of them are bays, so you can't just say, oh yeah, that brown horse is there, you know that one? So we give them names, and people laugh and go, you name a wild horse? Well, yeah, they're all bays. One's a big one, one's a little one. But they mean a lot to a lot of people, especially people who have lived here in Nevada for a long time, like Suzanne, and have had these horses literally either in their backyard or in their front yard, or I came home a week ago, and I live in a new development, and I clicked my garage door opener, and it was dark, and something to my left moved real fast, and I'm like, oh, what was that? And there's a horse standing right in my neighbor's front yard, just grazing, and as I opened my garage door, it startled him, so he jumped a little bit and looked at me like, what?
Shannon, what's going on with the regulations with the Nevada Department of Agriculture?
Well, we have been struggling for a year now, trying to get a cooperative agreement signed between the Nevada Department of Agriculture and wild horse advocates, so that we can participate and take the load off of the department, which is taxpayer money, so that they can concentrate on their business at hand, and that would be to grow our agriculture business, so that we can manage these horses. We do it anyway. We're out there. We're the ones who move the horses off of the streets. Advocates are out there. Well, we just had a mare the other day. We had a vet go out and take a look at her, just to give her an exam. Obviously, she's a wild horse, so you can't just put your hands all over her. But the vet was able to examine her well enough to determine what might be the problem. There was many concerns that she had an infection. The vet's determination was that she had an injury, and that she is a wild horse. We need to leave them alone. We need to realize that they're not our pets, that we have been given this beautiful gift. And like any other wild animal, deer, bears, or anything else, rabbits, even rattlesnakes, even though I don't like them, we need to leave them alone and let them survive. It is the survival of the fittest. If there is a weak horse born, that horse will not live long. It will be, the baby will be abandoned. And just like dogs and cats, they do the same thing. When they know that something is wrong with their baby, they abandon it. And out there on the range, it is the survival of the fittest.
Nature is a tough breeder.
Absolutely. Suzanne talked about the stallion and how he is very prolific. He watches out for his mares. That is in the genes. That is a horse that will survive. That horse will breed strong horses. To remove all these beautiful horses off of the range is not the answer. We want fertility control. We want to be able to move these horses out of specific areas when
Why are they there?
A nuisance.
Some people may not know why they're in the neighborhoods.
Well, it's Nevada. We were, up until the downfall of the economy, we were one of the fastest growing states, Reno and Las Vegas cities in the country. We're encroaching on their traditional grazing lands, and as we develop, as we move closer up into the hills, the horses are going, oh look, there's a buffet down there. Where I live, it's a new development. And Nevada is a fence-out state. There is a fence around my house, but there's no fence on the streets. So they just walk down the streets from the hills and start grazing on our boulevards, green grass in the boulevards, and enjoying the heck out of being there and pooping all over the place, stepping on people's sprinkler systems, and
And some people even aggravate the problem by feeding the horses. And
Right.
if you are one of those people, I just want you to know that you are killing them with kindness.
Absolutely.
They could get hit by a car if they're rounded up by the Department of Agriculture, or fingers are crossed they won't go to the slaughter auction. There's a good chance they will.
Absolutely. If we don't raise enough money to rescue these horses, anybody who has ever purchased a horse, and Eddie, you have a lot of them, knows that the cheapest price involved with a horse is the price you pay for it to purchase it. You continue paying for the price in hay and vet care, hoof care, transporting it, you need a horse trailer, unless you can walk a long way. And the price of hay in this day and age, with the drought that the western states are seeing. Eddie, you mentioned a while ago that farmers, ranchers are estimating the price of hay to go up as high as
$30
How are we gonna do this?
Well, I tell you what, listeners, the only way we're gonna do it is by joining forces. Everybody needs to get involved. Everybody needs to do what Sarah did when Sarah just texted in and said, last night was the first time I learned about Hidden Valley when I actually, with friends, went to Swill Coffee and Wine. I plan on being at the event. Plus, I wanted all of you to know I am going to continue listening to Mustang Matters as well as get involved with Hidden Valley.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
Sarah, you
Isn't
rock.
that wonderful, thank you, Sarah. Well, while we're talking about it, we do have a fundraising event. It's called Hearts for Horses, because it's right before Valentine's Day. Next Tuesday, February 11th, between 5 and 7 p.m. at Swill Coffee and Wine, 3366 Lakeside Court. We're going to have some beautiful music, harpists by a little group called Valley Harpers. There's going to be a cash bar. We're going to have appetizers, raffles, appetizers, silent auction for appetizers. Oh, I can't wait. I'm hungry. It's going to be fun, a fun event. So come on out. You can get your tickets in advance at www.hiddenvalleyhorses.com. This is a fundraising event. You can go to our shopping tab and purchase your tickets. They're going to be $25 at the door. We really look forward to seeing lots of people there. Thank you so much, Sarah. Please bring all your friends. That's what we're trying to do here, is raise awareness about what's happening with our wild horses, because, Sarah, these horses are your horses just as much as they are my horses, just as much as they are anyone's horses.
My
And
horses too.
Your horses, you live here. You live here, Joanne. These are your horses as well.
If anybody has questions about that event, I'm going to be signing books there. This is Terry. And giving the profits to the horses. If you have any questions, I am on Facebook, but I'm also on Twitter. I know there are a lot of people who like Twitter, and it's Terry, Terri, Farley, Farley. And I won't say I'm obsessive about checking it, but I'm pretty sure I'll hear from you. And you'll get a response from me quickly. And if you are one of those kinds of people who really, really likes horses, and the humans that live in your house are kind of sick of hearing about them, come on over to this event, because you will be among friends. We will talk horses until you're done.
Absolutely, absolutely. We would love to meet you, and that's one thing we love doing, is talking about the horses, raising awareness, educating people. As Terry said, don't feed them, you're killing them with kindness. We need to take care of these horses. We need to change the laws in the valley so that these horses, and any horse residing in the state of Nevada, is protected and not subjected to whoever happens to be the director of the Department of Agriculture or as governor.
And I just want to say quickly, this is Suzanne, I'm Terry's friend, and I have followed her on Facebook and Twitter for years, and I get so much good information from her Twitter feed. So follow her if you want to know more about what's happening with the horses. horses.
And Suzanne, this final text comes in from Ben in Fallon, and Ben says, okay, ladies, and he's referring to you and your friend Terry, who watches the goats when you're traveling together, and he wants to know how to get a hold of both of your books.
My husband usually watches the goats if Terry and I are traveling together. And my books are available through Amazon or through Simon & Schuster, or order from your local bookstore. That's a way to support your community.
And my books are available just about the same places, or email me, Sundance Books, Grassroots Books. There's a lot of local bookstores that you can get them from in addition to Amazon.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Suzanne Morgan-Williams, thank you. We're so honored to have you here. Terry Farley, Joanne Sparta here. Eddie, thank you so much for having us here. Please get in touch with us on hiddenvalleyhorses.com. Donate, please. And we'll see you at the Swill, February 11th. Thank you.
We're on a mission from God.
Good show, kids, good show. I love those. We had a lot of stand-up comedians on text tonight.
Now serving number 45.
Now serving the beautiful chicks.
If you guys would like to stay and join the audience,